Welcome back, all you stylish devils out there. I hope you're ready for part 2 of this video series. Just a quick note before continuing from where we left off. For the rest of DMC1, I'll be using the DMK mod made by Serpentium. Shout out to him, you can follow him on Reddit. To play through DMC1 since I have beaten this game enough times through my life. I just want to have fun this playthrough, so that being said, there's too many demons and not enough time. Let's rock, baby. In the last video, I discussed that I had managed to defeat Phantom as a kid. He was quite challenging for a 7-year-old to face, so I just barely managed. Now that he was gone, for the time being, I had no choice but to explore my surroundings. I knew I had a key item and looked around for anything that resembled it. The lion door in the courtyard was my first guess as to where it went, even though there was clearly a giant force field around the lion statue. When you're a child, little details like that escape you. Especially when you have a lack of experience with games, your pattern recognition isn't as refined, and the speed in which it develops at that time, 2001, was a fragment of how quickly people adapt in this day and age. Get key item, place in specific location, and then move forward to fight baddies is the style of DMC, though many games around that time did have the same approach to game design, and many games today still somewhat have this same approach. In fact, most of this game series is go here, slay demons, get item, and place over here, wash, rinse, repeat. It's a simple style of gameplay, and devs manage to stretch their world assets out as far as they can go, but I will say in the future it gets stale after many playthroughs over years. Luckily DMC5 doesn't have this kind of style, and I say style instead of problem because I don't really view it as a problem. That style of world building was a solution of its time, and it has charm to it that can be favorable at times to always having new scenery. In my mind, it's different and not worse or problematic. It's just a style of game development. So after facing Shadow and slaying him, you'll find yourself picking up a really cool relic. At first, I thought this was a new sword that I would get to use to slay demons with. Probably one of the coolest looking swords in the game. Sadly, it was not a usable weapon, but rather a key item to progressing. That was so disappointing, especially when it was hidden, but to be fair, if you gained a new weapon without a cutscene showing it off, would it really have been that good? How could it even manage to come close to Alistair's introduction video? So, it's fine as a key item, but as a child it was a bit disheartening. That being said though, once you have this key item, you'll find that in a very nice but dusty old room, there is a statue with a woman who has some sort of organic ball gag in her mouth. Once you insert the sword into her chest, she'll spit this ball out, and you can use that to open another door. But before you do, a new, more powerful challenger arrives, ready to test your skills in combat. Now you, the player, may already know who this challenger is, but for those who don't, let's just say he's a true rival in strength to Dante. Nello Angelo, one is, in all honesty, not that bad compared to Phantom 1. By this time in the game, you should have an easy time with the controls, and Nello telegraphs his moves a bit more than Phantom. Though he hits hard, so getting cocky will cost you, but otherwise Nello isn't too hard his first go around. You just wait for him to attack, and then you go in for your opening to bash on him. Unless he's blocking, you can just get free attacks in, and with slash canceling, you can deal even more damage, though I didn't find out about this till later on in my life. With Phantom, there is a vulnerable phase, but it doesn't last long, so it's hard to capitalize off of. Plus, he can block while moving up to you with his forelegs, and his back legs are armored, though there is a sweet spot between the heart and the final back legs, so you can do critical damage with Helm Breakers, where I believe you hit 2 of his hitboxes, the one on the tail and the one on his body. But the changing camera angles and Phantom shifting constantly, these 2 things in conjunction, plus his jumping movements actually, so these 3 things in conjunction, in such a tight space, make it a guess if you'll even get the critical, and it makes it harder to actually fight him. At the very least without practice the way high-level speedrunners do. You would need to practice getting criticals on Phantom. But with Nello, it's really simple. I don't think there's much that you need to practice. Nello's camera angles are rigged in such a way that they will most likely not get in the way. They can, it has happened to me, but it really doesn't happen enough, at least with the Nello 1 fight. So to me it's a much easier fight for those reasons, though on DMD the damage output is high enough that the camera can cause you to die on occasion. So once you get through the first 3 phases of the Nello fight and before you ask, no, there aren't really any changes, they're just location changes. Once you get through those first 3 fights, a cutscene will play where Dante and Nello fight each other. Nello manages to pin Dante to the wall, and as he's doing so, the amulet that Dante has falls out of his coat. At the sight of it, Nello retreats, seemingly as if struggling to fight some sort of mind control or struggling to remember a repressed memory. This was a strange occurrence, and being young, I didn't connect the dots right away. You then continue through the castle, facing enemies and placing key items where they need to go to progress forward. The dark atmosphere is ever present, and even after you leave the castle for a brief moment to traverse Malay Island, some people forget that Dante does exit the castle for a short period of time. The atmosphere, regardless of that fact, is still ever present, and it's probably even spookier than before. The environmental traps mixed with the varying fixed camera angles are actually quite good for their time and provide an additional yet minimal amount of challenge for the player. In all honesty though, it's the enemies that provide the real challenge. Without DT and items, a young child will have trouble playing through this game. Eventually, before leaving the island, you will encounter Phantom again, and an even cooler giant animal demon being Griffin. I just want to say, Phantom is cool, but Griffin to me is top tier non-humanoid demon. So Griffin is honestly not a very difficult fight. If you can jump and shoot, you can hit him. Occasionally he will run up and try and peck you, but most of the time he'll jump back and shoot streams of electrified demon energy at you, and all you have to do is jump and shoot. This is the same for the third fight and pretty much for the second fight as well, although the second fight is a little varied because it takes place on a ghost ship. The waves do get harder to dodge in the second and third fight. Ultimately, it's not too difficult if you're patient. Now, if you want to have fun with this fight, then what you want to do is run up to him and jump cancel onto his back, Helmbreaker, and then begin riding him like a rodeo bull. You can do this for most of the fight, even the ghost ship fight. Though the ghost ship is probably the most annoying version of the Griffin fight, since he will summon his demon energy bird that will occasionally launch you or hit you and knock you off the masts of the ship, which is annoying because you have to climb back up, but getting rid of this attack is really quite simple. If you guessed it, it's jump and shoot, and Dante will target when it's in range, and eventually it will die. The main theme here for this fight is jump and shoot. Though there are better strategies to facing Griffin, it's clear that the direction the devs wanted was a test of your movement abilities, but there are better strategies, so if you ever wanted to, you can look up better ways to fight Griffin and deal with him. Essentially what the devs wanted was jump and shoot. It's okay. The boss itself is cool and looks cool, and the scenery for the fights for Griffin are phenomenal, but the boss itself is a little lackluster because of, the repetition that is required to face him. He's not very difficult, and he is very repetitious, so just be ready for that if you do end up facing him. But otherwise, he has a lot going for him, just like Phantom. That being said, I also want to talk about Phantom 2. Phantom 2 is pretty much a slightly harder version of Phantom 1. The only difference is, if you want, you can get Phantom to kill himself by having him jump at the center of the stage that you're in 3 times. The floor underneath you is made of glass. If you get him to do this, he will break that glass, fall through it, and then get impaled by the horse statue that is in the main hallway in the first mission. And then this awesome cutscene will play where Dante has an ethereal image of Sparta on him, and then Phantom dreads, no, it can't be Sparta, how? And so Dante says, you're right, I'm not Sparta, I'm his son, Dante, and gives him a little peace out before he stylishly walks away. Along the way, you get new weapons added to your arsenal, like the devil-armed Ifrit, which is probably one of the coolest devil arms out there. Though I will say the dragon theme with these devil arms starts to get a little repetitious. You also will eventually encounter a grenade launcher, which is overpowered as hell, at least for the guns. Luckily, you can't shoot in the air with it, or that would make the gun even stronger. Not that I don't want that. Actually, it's funny when you realize there are a lot of moves in this game that are just broken, like Vortex being one example. Ifrit even has a move which I believe is called Inferno. but I don't remember if that is the exact name. I'll have to look it up. One of the details I love about this game is that every enemy has at the very least one ranged attack alongside its standard melee attack. This allows it so every enemy is deadly at any range, meaning the player has to be cautious at all times, which keeps the intensity of the game high as it should be. It also was a great game design choice as it allows for the reuse of enemies to not be so boring. Since it's an older game, assets like enemies and the world get reused a lot, and being creative and finding ways to make the same thing entertaining and diverse is one job some devs fail at. But I think regarding the enemies in DMC1, the devs did a great job in terms of design, sound, and function, so much so that it can be reused for a few times and not be stale. Well, I think I'm going to cut it short to save some more for part 3 of this DMC1 retrospective. I hope I did an alright job this time around, tried to keep it mainly focused on the game rather than me and my personal feelings regarding the series. I need to work on script writing a little bit. I feel like my thoughts are a little more scattered than I want them to be. Hopefully my skills will improve over time. If anything, I will do an updated version of this series when they do improve. With that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this. This is DT, signing out.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon for future notifications. Also, follow DeadTuro and Bayo on Twitch to keep up with their co-op speedruns and other activities. Remember, you can always unsubscribe later if you find the content is not for you. If, however, you enjoy slaying demons, perhaps you'd be interested in joining DeadToro's Discord DT community chat to talk with fellow demon slayers like yourself. And if you want to help these devil hunters continue on their quest to seal the demon world for good, become a patron, as doing so allows Toro to frequent Bayo's home for cooperative DMC speedruns and combos. Links to everything down below.